Hi guys, so let's have a look at an introduction to drawing and tracing for fun in Designer on the iPad, and you can use it on the desktop as well, except the controls will be slightly different. This is an Affinity Designer version 2 tutorial. Now, first up, setting the canvas. Let's start with a reasonable canvas to work on, not too big and not too small. I've set my clip art preset to 3600 by 3600 pixels. I've not used an artboard for this in this instance, but I have left the margins showing as this provides a working boundary. Now with our canvas created, we can begin planning our work. In this instance, I'm going to trace a rather cute cat outline that was on one of the Facebook groups. And thank you for whoever put that up. It's very simple, but it's excellent for showing how to trace. Now the first step, place the image on the canvas. It will appear as a new layer. Don't worry that it's a JPG and you want to produce a vector file. When finished, just delete this image and you'll be left with the vector file. So let's begin the trace now. Let's start at the bottom left on the line. Select the pen tool and set the stroke width to 4 pixels is probably a good example, and the colour to black. You can change this later if you wish. Set the fill to no fill. I have the stroke at 2 here, but in order to see it clearly in this exercise, you really need it at 4. 2 is very thin. Now, place your first point at the start of the line and the next point at the end of the line. From here, you should keep going all the way around the shape. It's not wise to stop and start in different places. But if you do stop, remember to tap the little X to deselect your line. Otherwise, your next point will start from where your last one left off, and that can get confusing. I always find it's easier to go all the way around if you can. More complex shapes, of course, you can't. Now, to add the inner part, complete the outline right around to the second horizontal and then tap the X to deselect that line. Then begin the inner section. Now that's an example of what I was just talking about. Don't worry about the lines that don't seem to fit. You'll adjust them in a moment and you can see that they don't all fit the shape and the curve. Some do, some don't. Let's look at the lines that don't fit the curves, and there's an example there. First tap the deselect X and next place the pen tip on the stroke you placed. Not the line, but the stroke you drew. Gently drag the curve in so it lines up perfectly on the original. Those lines bend, you see. Once you're in the node tool, those lines bend. Repeat this with all lines until you have a nice fit. No square curves. Is such a thing possible? Can you have a square curve? Well, there's lots there for you to play with. Work your way around the entire shape. Note you're in the node mode. That's the second icon down from the left. Enlarge as you need and reposition the image. Be careful enlarging because you can move the image and you don't want to do that. Starting to look nice? It's very simple. Still a few straight lines, but easy to fix. A simple design like this can take just a few minutes. A design such as this will take somewhat longer, but is achieved by the same means. There is no rapid way of doing this. If you do it with some of those vector creators, you'll end up with about 10 million small curves for everything on there, and you'll never organise them. It's much easier and much more satisfying to take the time and do the tracing yourself. Now there's your finished cat. Remember to move the layer with the JPG cat image so you have a pure vector file. When you export it as a vector. Now you'll notice there that there are still some flat lines, not curves. That's up to you. You've got to take the time to make the curves. What I wanted to show you here was actually how easy it is with the pen and the node tool, they're the only two tools you need, to trace a line, trace an outline. That could be your pet just sitting there. You just trace the line around the pet. Lovely and easy. Now we're up to part 2. Drawing. Too easy. Simple drawing with no tracing. Let's start with a Christmas gnome. So, create a new blank document, this time with transparent background. Although you don't have to have a transparent background. Again, 3600 by 3600 pixels. You can leave the margins or not. I always like to have the margins there just to remind me that I'm working on a canvas that does actually have edges. Easy shapes. Let's start with the built-in shapes in Designer. You don't even need drawing skills for this, just a bit of imagination. Open the Shapes tool and look down the list. We're going to select the trapezoid shape. Strange. This will give a nice wide rounded bottom. Will it? A trapezoid? Let's see how we do it. Once selected, click and drag to form a trapezoid shape. Turn on snapping and centre the shape. We'll resize it in a moment anyway. Now you won't see the red and the green line unless you've got snapping on. That's that little magnet shaped icon in the top right hand side there. On desktop, of course, it's slightly different. Next we need to change the body from grey to black and set the stroke to no colour. Now the stroke's the outside line, remember, and the body is the fill. Now we need to make some adjustments. Let's reduce the size and position slightly and convert it to curves so we can round the corners. Also, it will give us full control of the shape. So you select the layer, select the shape and go to Edit and Convert to Curves. Once converted to curves, we can use the Corner tool to get some nice rounded corners. Now the Corner tool's over on the left there. The Corner tool and first corner applied. I've moved the corner to 308.5. Now you can see the Corner tool, left hand side, that sort of right angle square with the red curve in it. Once you've tapped that, you'll see a little red dot appear offset from the corner of the operative corner of the image. In other words, the dot that's selected. It will be different on the desktop, of course, but you'll find it easily enough. It's virtually the same thing. Do the same on the other side. Tap the little dot so it's the operative dot. You'll see the red dot appear inside. Drag that red dot towards the centre and there it is. Now select the Node tool and pull each side out a little to give the gnome's body a more rounded shape. Now let's head back to the Corner tool. Let's adjust the corners slightly. Select the corner and with the red dot that appears, just drag them in slightly to round them off a little more. The shape remains a curve, of course. Now we recenter the shape, squash it down a little and move its position slightly. So now we're ready for the boots. And you can see that's down from being actually centred. We don't want it centred so much. And you think, how does that look like a body? Well, it does. We can now do our boots pretty simply with rounded rectangles. Again, the Shapes tool. Create the first one and round it out so it looks like this by selecting the little red dot at the top left of the shape and dragging it all the way in. Colour it grey so it's easy to see against the black. Now duplicate the shape and place them below the body layer so they are partially hidden by it. And you can see in the Layers panel there that they are. You can even enlarge them slightly. So now it looks like this. Aha, a body and 2 feet. Just check in the Transform Studio that both are the same size. You don't want the feet being different sizes because if you enlarge that slightly, it will become immediately obvious. To make life easier, rename layers to left shoe and right shoe and body. And the next step is to do the upper body, starting with the arms. Again, we can use the rounded rectangle. You can see no drawing here yet, just pulling a few shapes into shapes that we want. Copy the 2 feet and duplicate them. Move them up into position and rename them. Line them up so they're in a good position for upper arms. The lower ends are going to be the elbows. Change the colour to black. Next we do the forearms and the mittens. Again we start with rounded rectangles. Now let's look at these. Open your Shapes tool and select rounded rectangles and create a suitable rounded rectangle to start. This begins the forearm, so let's adjust the shape. Uncheck the corner tool in the context toolbar. Now you can straighten the left ends and keep the curve on the right. Draw out the red dots on the left ends and draw them in on the right. This forms the mitten. So the left side, red dot goes out to the corner, right side, red dot is pulled in to form the curve. That's fairly straightforward. Now we're getting somewhere with a mitten. Now create another rounded rectangle, making it a lot smaller, then position it and rotate it slightly, forming the thumb of the mitten. You can begin to see what's happening here. There are no exact sizes, so you can use your eye to guesstimate the right size. After some more adjustments, I'm getting close to the mitten size. Now select both layers and in the top toolbar select Geometry and then Add. And guess what? You now have one single mitten image. Isn't that lovely? For now, just put it in the middle of the body and in about the right position. Colour it grey again so you can see it. Otherwise, it'll disappear in the black body, of course. Next, we need the forearm. So in the Shapes menu, select the tier shape and draw out a tier. Now drag the red side handle all the way up and also adjust the width slightly so you can get this kind of shape. Turn and adjust the shape so it looks like a forearm with a mitten. Isn't that cool? See how easy it is? No drawing required. Move your mitten so it's on top of the forearm layer and colour it blue. You can see in the Layers panel the mitten is now on the top and the left forearm just below it. Now I need to readjust both the arm and the mitten. I do, don't I? Because they're a bit off. This is tricky. Select both layers, not bot layers, sorry about that. Select both layers, mitten and forearm, and then duplicate. Don't click off them and go up to the Arrange tool and select Move to Top. With the layers still selected, select the Flip Horizontal tool. Flip Horizontal places your duplicate exactly like the original. So it's exactly the same curve and angle and everything, just sitting on top of the other one at the moment. All you have to do then is move it. Drag the duplicate into place. Check that you have them lined up. Now, if your Snap tool is on, you'll get a little red line across the top there, showing that they are in fact aligned. Now you can see that actually the arms are too long. So we'll fix the right one first. Group the arm and mitten and adjust its size. Then duplicate the group. Flip it horizontal, delete the left arm and mitten. Move the duplicate into place. Much better. Open the two groups and make sure you have the names correct. Left mitten, right mitten and so on. That can get confusing. Depends whether you're looking at the picture or from the perspective of the picture. Don't confuse them. You will end up with arms on the wrong side. Okay, ungroup the arms and mittens, then select the body, right arm and left arm, and in the Geometry tool, select Add. Kapow, now you have everything in one image. Now we can begin the rest. First, a beard. And we're going to achieve this with, you guessed it, a teardrop shape. So we're using Shapes again. Let's do it. Draw out a teardrop and rotate it. so it's just about in the right position. Note the red dot about level with the two mittens now. Use the red dot to drag the shape sideways a little to distort it. So this is the first of a number of layers. Let's continue. We want 2 more beard layers and 4 more moustache layers. Whoa, moustache. I love a moustache. So let's do them. Simply duplicate the first layer twice and adjust it. There are no hard and fast rules, so you have a lot of freedom. Now, that's looking like an odd beard and moustache at the moment, but we're going to fix that. Once you have your beard looking good, select all the layers you used, go to Geometry and select Add. Rename the layer to Beard. There we go. Drag the layer down so it's between your forearms and the body. You can't really see that there because it's appearing almost between the forearms, but you'll see later that this is important. Now I've made the beard a little taller and a little wider. I think that's good now. Now see how it's behind the mittens slightly, which is of course where you want it in this instance. Next we need his nose and a hat. The nose is simply a soft pink ellipse centred on the beard, which I've now coloured white. Now the beard's coloured white, not the nose. The nose is a soft pink. For the hat, we're going to freehand it with the pen tool. Remember, we can and will adjust the lines to any shape we want, but start by roughly outlining a shape by joining the dots, starting with the left beard joint. Note the line is 1 point thick and black, no fill. A new layer at the top, so I've got fill off and just the line is a black 1 pixel layer, 1 point thick layer, sorry. You can see the shape I've got there. Bit of an odd looking hat, but we'll get to that. Fill the cap with a green, say, and next we're going to shape it out so it looks a better shape. Now you can see the colour green there, and the outline is no fill. The curved outline is no fill, so it's just a green shape. Using the node tool, drag the edges out so you have a better shape. Kind of a better shape, but you can see where I've curved the lines and it looks more fluid, softer than just a funny angled hat. Now I've reshaped the hat a little bit more and added a cloud shape to hang as a decoration on the point of the hat, again from the Shapes tool. I've moved the layers around a little to get the hat behind the nose. So this is our basic model, and from here we can add any additional decorations and colours we want. I would save this as a template now, because you can come back to this. You can make this a birthday gnome, a Christmas gnome, a happy gnome, a sad gnome, whatever gnome you like, by just adding or changing the elements of this, so you don't have to draw it all over again. So this is our basic model. From here we can add any additional decorations and colours we want. Now that we have our foundation, we can strengthen the outline by selecting all the layers and applying a brush outline that gives it more of a doodle look. Experiment with this, as it can really make the design pop. Let's spend a moment adding some context to the puffball. Reshape it as you like and add some texture lines. Use the pen tool, then adjust the curves to be the brush lines, and I used Frankentoon's comic brush set, an excellent set of brushes that work really well on Designer. Looking cool, don't you think? However, the hat definitely needs attention. It's the wrong colour for a start, I think. About green. Let's make it red. Make it a nice Christmas red. So we're looking at a Christmas elf, are we? And add some crinkle lines to it. Again, the pen tool and brush settings using the Frankentoon comic brush for texture. Again, they're really neat brushes. And remember, there's no right or wrong way, just your way. Set the body and arms to the same red as the hat. Aha, there we go. Next, remove the outline strokes around both arms. We're going to change that slightly. We need to put some lines back in to indicate the edge of the arms so it doesn't merge completely. Temporarily change the arm colour for guidance. There we go. Change the arm back to red, then repeat for the other arm. Now I've cleaned up the layers panel, dragging the various lines and crinkles inside their parent curves and shapes. This makes it much easier. All that's left are some accent lines on the shoes, the body and the beard, so let's go right ahead and do that. And we'll find out what I've done with the puff ball that goes on his hat. And there it is, back again. It was in a layer that I'd put below something else. Now you have your working file that you can come back to any time you like. Making changes, adding to, whatever you like. Save it as your working file. Too easy and not a bit of drawing. From this point on you can change, add, subtract, whatever you like. Great for sublimation or other crafting products. Look at that. So, thanks for watching. I hope you've gained some ideas and insights for creating your own work in Affinity Designer. Please share the video with friends if you like the idea. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Subscribe even if you haven't already, that's always appreciated. Give it a special like from the options just below. That's also much appreciated.